I want to thank Hudson Hickman for calling my attention to this opportunity to have our guest today, and Susie Altman for helping make this possible. Today's program features a man whose name everyone knows. Dr. James Meredith's name became a household word in the 1960s when he became the first African American student to become a student at Ole Miss. His courage and his dignity has carried him through the years at the University of Mississippi and onto an eventful and meaningful life. I'm glad that his wife, Dr. Judy Meredith, is here today, and his granddaughter, Janae, she's out there with the books in the hallway that are for sale. You can learn more about him in those books, and if you've seen the documentary, Walk Against Fear, that's a fairly recent documentary about his life. His final mission is much needed effort in bringing us together to remind us about the Ten Commandments and our obligation to be a servant to these laws from God in our own lives and bring up our children and grandchildren this way. And he brings us this message here today. Please join me in welcoming Dr. James Meredith.
Wow. Thank you, thank you, thank you. Union County Heritage Museum. If there's anything in the world James Meredith wants, it's a duplication of what I'm looking at here. So far, don't know about it but me, one other person think that James Meredith deserves a museum and a mission headquarters. Now, first thing, since I believe the people here will understand why I think James Meredith deserves a museum. We'll get to the mission later. The mission is much more important. The museum. I believe that what James Meredith did 60-something years ago was a very significant event in not just the history of America, but the history of the world. Mississippi has played down what happened 60 years ago. But if anybody saw the headline in today's Clarion Ledger or today's USA Today, it was the same issue. More importantly, maybe number 2 person will think that James Meredith deserved a museum. But I think everybody will agree that we need a mission in every county in Mississippi. Right. I stole the mission idea from the Catholics. Actually, I didn't have to steal it from them because they stopped using it 40 or 50 years ago. They don't, but for over 1,000 years, everywhere the Catholics went, they established what they call a mission. The purpose of the mission was to teach the basic fundamentals of Jesus Christ and the Bible. James Meredith March Against Crime. I'm surprised at that. I always call what I do a walk, but if they want to say march, then I'll march. But what I really do want to do is build a facility, a mission in every place who have the responsibility of making sure that every child, and the most important thing, black, mostly women, young women, whisper in my ear, is that their children don't have nothing to do when they're not in school. At least the mission used to teach them the 10 Commandments and the Golden Rule. Ain't nobody teaching them nothing now but how to get away with a crime. The only solution to our problem is Jesus Christ. And only Jesus Christ.
Yes, sir.
Moses brought the 10 Commandments. But the second thing Jesus Christ said in the Bible was that he came not to destroy the law,
All right.
but to fulfill the law. And the law he was talking about was the 10 Commandments. So Moses and Jesus Christ, number one, was the 10 Commandments and the Golden Rule. And if we don't start teaching our children good from bad, right from wrong, as is the intent and the purpose of the 10 Commandments and the Golden Rule, Mississippi, like everywhere else in the world, gonna be in big trouble. And if there's anybody know how to teach the 10 Commandments and the Golden Rule, it's people in Northeast Mississippi. You know, I not only went to Ole Miss, but I graduated. Everybody been talking about how brave James Meredith is. The truth is, don't nobody talk about the most important thing, and that's how smart that fool is. Because it ain't what I did at Ole Miss that made my life what it is. It was because of what I did at Ole Miss. Because I got a degree from Ole Miss, and by the way, ain't no student in history ever spent a shorter time at Ole Miss and got a degree as me. That's the truth. I guarantee you. I was there only 10 months. But when I went there, they said, nigga, you gonna be here forever. You ain't never gonna get no degree. But after I put a whooping on them, they gave me credit for everything. And didn't start until October. But they got rid of me quick as they could. The next August, you coming. You coming. And I guarantee you that ain't for 10 months. They had me walk across and receive my degree from that chancellor that said I was never gonna get one. But, you know, the truth is the light. But because I finished at Ole Miss, then everybody said, hey, that fool must have some brains. So, England, everybody heard of Oxford and Cambridge. But England also had them a school in Africa, Ibadan. Oh, they done changed it now. They closed that one down because they taught the same thing they taught in England, in Oxford. But they closed it. But I went to it before they closed it. So they taught me all about colonialism. Then, when I left Africa, where I got the next thing after BA, whatever, they call it postdoc or something over there. They don't call it the same thing Americans do. But after I got that degree, Columbia Law School, the dean said the reason that he looked me up and brought me there was because he didn't want them people to kill me. I ain't gonna say what he called them in Mississippi. So he said he brought me out of Mississippi up to Columbia Law School. That's an Ivy League school. I mean, and so I went there, got that degree. Anybody ever heard of 1020? Look at your morning paper. Ain't nobody dealt with any issue that matter since slavery. We have yet to deal with the legacy of slavery. We have not one time dealt with the consequences of segregation. White folks won't talk about none of it. Blacks do their best to forget all of it. Nothing is more humiliating than remembering anybody over 60 years old have to remember white only, color this, and believe you me. For many years, I sat in Kroger for over 35 years at what they call the Old Men Coffee Club. Kroger, up until the pandemic, gave away free coffee to us old folks. And that free coffee, for some reason, tastes better than the coffee in paper. And well, anyway, that's just one of the things, but I ain't finished with Columbia Law School. The dean not only brought me there, gave me what he called his slop. Because I'm in Albany, Mississippi, New Albany, I'm sorry about that. I can tell the whole truth. The dean not only told me that in 1965, Harvard University admitted 15 black freshmen. They had never submitted over one before. Check history. In 1965, that was the same year that the LBJ signed the voting rights deal. Columbia admitted 16 black, one more than Harvard, because they wanted to show Harvard who the big dog was in the Ivy League. And the dean told me he could have put a dog in my spot if he chose. But he said he chose me because Mississippi needed, no, he said black need leadership. And what they've been doing ain't providing no leadership. Most people think the 1954 Supreme Court decision is something. It was nothing but a fraud. The only person right about it was Ross Barnett, because he said what it meant was never. I guarantee you that's what it meant. And we've been fooled long enough. That's all the 1020 is about. That was the headline in every major newspaper. Today, the judge that ruled on it said it's the most important case he ever touched. But he ain't never once in it wrote anything that explained what the case is about. The case is about the separation of blacks and whites. The reason why that separation exists is because of religion. And we all lie and pretend like we don't know that. Martin Luther King's most known statement is that the most segregated hour is 11 o'clock on Sunday morning. Ain't no statement he ever said more known than that. But he never did anything to try to change it. As a matter of fact, I know that they had an agreement. That's why Dr. King got his good paycheck every month, because he was the associate pastor of his daddy's church. His daddy was the biggest preacher, not only in Atlanta, Georgia, but in the world. And they had an agreement that King wasn't going to do nothing to in Atlanta, Georgia. And I guarantee you, you look at every history you can find, you ain't never going to find where he did anything there. I mean, this thing is deep. Everybody talk about Mississippi, but Mississippi is America. And I promised God I wasn't going to lie no more. I'm going to tell the truth. I'm sure there are a whole lot of things I did because of Ole Miss. I had a tour at the Library of Congress in Washington, D.C., 18 months, the most important 18 months of my life. up until a couple of months ago, everybody, oh, he went to work for Jesse Helms, that prejudiced person. I ain't never met any governor in a state of America that didn't go along with this separation of black and white. I don't care what lie anybody tells. Ain't nobody don't know the truth. And it's time for us to start dealing with the truth. I don't know much more I can say, except that if they, oh yeah, I know. The very first place in Mississippi was first of all northeast Mississippi. But then North Mississippi, I say anything above Green Acre. But the absolute first place that Christianity was brought to Mississippi was the 16 northeast counties. And that was because the principal people that brought Christianity to northeast Mississippi were the Methodists. But it wasn't the present Methodists, because they used clergy. The old Methodists used lay Christians to evangelize. And now they done went back to the same as everybody else. And everybody done forgot about the real truth. I guarantee you, if you study the history of desegregation in Mississippi, it's different in the 16 northeast counties than any of the other counties. Whether we like it or not. It ain't what it ought to be, but it's certainly different. But actually, our real problem now is crime.
Amen.
I guarantee you, I used to wouldn't say this because I was scared they'd hang me from one of these trees before they let me get out of town. But I guarantee you, that's how protective God is. We know I'm fixing to say something they may hang me for. You make me forget what it was. That's true.
He's a good God.
My Lord.
And there's a lot of people know what I'm talking about. Now, I'm not a speaker, everybody can tell that, but I spoke on a many college campus. And I ain't never been on the college campus when the main part of the program wasn't question and answer. And if there's anything we need to do now, it's come up with questions and answers.
Amen.
All right.
Amen.
I mean, now, so, since God didn't pull my coat, so you better shut your mouth. They'll hang you in Union County just as quick as they will in Rankin County. So I'm gonna hush my mouth until they run me out of here. My next stop is gonna be Ripley, and I don't care what time I get to Ripley. I mean, but this is the beginning of my end. I know a lot of truth, And I've been lying all my life, just like everybody else I know. I don't know nobody that don't lie better than they tell the truth. But I really, well, talk about today. I didn't set this date. I have an idea who may have, but I don't know. But this date was set by this museum. But I took advantage of this, and I'm going to leave here and go to all 81 other counties in Mississippi. And the last day I'm going is my birthday, 25 June. I think that's 7 weeks. And I'm going to go march on the capital of Mississippi. Everybody's been talking around the world about House Bill 1020.
Yes, sir.
I ain't met one lawyer
Yeah.
that know what the heck 1020 is about. I think old crazy butt Jane Meredith is the only person in America that know what it's about. Because it's clear when I read the 3 pages that the judge wrote explaining how important the case was. He ain't got no clue what the issue is in the case. But I guarantee you, it's got to do with the legacy of slavery, which we are still bound by. We are bound by. And the consequences of segregation. But at least 10 of the years that I spent at Kroger in Jackson, if I wanted to get rid of blacks, if they were 70 years or older, all I had to do was make them admit, because anybody 70 years old have seen segregation signs. They have seen white only, black this and white that. If I wanted to make a black mad, I'd make them admit that they ever saw one of them signs. It hurt them so bad. It hurt them so bad they didn't want to see me in the light. I mean, and everybody pretend that they don't know what the issue is with cops shooting back in the back.
Yes.
And everybody acts surprised when 2 months ago they arrested 5 blacks in Memphis for the killing of black. And then the next thing you know, they done arrested 2 more. And I think it's a higher number now. But the thing is, I've been knowing for years blacks been doing it, but they've been protecting them blacks so they didn't have to deal with the whites. I'm telling you, I know. And anybody want to know can know. But I ain't gonna lie no more. I'm gonna tell the truth or leave it alone.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
So now, I will open the floor for suggestions, comments, or whatever, because I need answers. And if anybody got answers as to how we can solve our crime problem, I will take it to every other county. And that means all of the counties in Mississippi have it, because everybody in this room will hear what everybody say, because I like small rooms. because everybody here and everybody be lying together.
Mr. Meredith,
Yes, ma'am.
I once heard you say that there were a certain group of people which were the most important people in Mississippi. They should all be godmothers. I got here a little bit late. I don't know if you spoke about that, but you mentioned it to me several years
After
ago.
them women tried to kill me several times, I left it alone. But quite frankly, I can't see who that was. Would you identify yourself?
My name is Rosalind Clark, City of
You know
Auburn.
that's who I thought that was. That's who I thought that was. But let me tell you who she is. She made a believer out of me. The first time I ever saw that lady was the only time. No, that's a lie. The first time I ever went in the law building on the campus at Ole Miss. I don't know what brought her there, but they tricked me into coming there. I was tricked by one of the best-known lawyers in the state of Mississippi, Alvin Chambers. Many of you know him because he represented the Ayers case. The Ayers case was a fraud. The Ayers case pretended it was about integration. The Ayers case was really about continuing segregation forever. Now, and of course I knew that before I went to that meeting. But Alvin and I started the Jackson State the same day in 1960. And that's most people were not hardly born then. But that's the day we started the Jackson State. And I knew the game they was playing. Judge Bigger, I believe was his name, handled that case the whole time. And if there was anybody slicker than the judge handling the 1020, it was Bigger. And okay, back to Captain Copeland.
Dr. Meredith,
Yeah.
I'm Dr. Barbara Howard, and on August 23rd in 2017, I ran into you at Kroger.
But you know, I'm gonna need some help. I don't feel good as I used to.
And you told me, you said, at old age, you should be teaching everything you know to the younger. You said, to see and not to do is the wrong of the elder. To the youth, it is to hear and not to receive. And you said prevention is better than cure. Do you have anything that you would like to add to that now 6 years later?
I'm gonna tell you where I got it. As I indicated, I went to school in Africa. But I have been to at least 80% of every country in Africa. I made several trips to Africa. On about the third trip, I went to what they called an age group meeting. It was a whole week. And all that they did, each age group was supposed to teach the next group coming up what their duties were for their age group, to teach the next age group. And that's where I got that prevention is better than cure. When you get old, the second, prevention is better than cure.
To see and not to do is the wrong
Right.
of the elder.
To see and not to speak kills the elder. In other words, old folks are supposed to correct young folks every time they see young folks doing something.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
They are not God, and God only can judge.
Right.
And the problem of the youth is to hear and not receive. In other words, you tell them, they hear you, but they don't receive you.
Yes, sir.
So your job, the only solution to that is to continue to teach. Now, and back to Captain Copeland. The first time I had the courage to say that black women were the future of the black race. Because black women are the only people that know what a black family is supposed to be. Because the man been pushed out of the family so long,
Yes,
they
sir.
don't even know what the man is supposed to do to make a full family. Now, that is so humiliating and embarrassing. We don't like to admit it. But back to Captain Clark. You know who Captain Clark is now? She's the mayor
The mayor.
of a city in northeast Mississippi that has a big. The significant thing is they got more white folks than they got black folks. But she's the mayor, and if you saw her, you know she ain't hardly white.
Not hard.
And only we can fix our problem.
That's right. That's
Only
right.
what any individual can do in life depends upon the foundation laid between birth and age 5. In every society I know of, all children are under the complete control of the birth mother and her family until the age of 6.
That's right.
So only we can fix our problem. Only we
Only we.
can deal with our crime problem. And I know, as a matter of fact, this is what I started to say before, and God wouldn't let me. I met some sisters today that said they were all in a Baptist church. I went to 56 different black churches in a row to see what they were being taught. And I know most of those women with them white hats on and them white outfits on do not teach their young people good from bad, right from wrong. They don't, and we got to. We got to. Only we can do it. We can't blame white folks no more for bringing up our children to the age of 5.
That's right. That's right.
I only know of very few black children under the age of 6 that under the control of anything other than the birth mother and her friends and family. And we can tell any kind of lie we want. We can blame anybody we want. But the truth is the light. And I have to admit it's been much easier to lie than to tell the truth. You see, a fella named Goldberg, or something like that, was the first black who was the police captain of a major city in the South. And he wrote a book. And he said that white folks kill black folks for a reason. Black folks kill reason for usually a nonsense reason or no reason at all. They just kill them. You understand? And that God knows that's the truth. And only we can stop it. Yes. Any kind of other lie we tell ain't nothing but a lie. And if anybody good at lying, it's me. As a matter of fact, I practiced lying so long and I got so good, I know I be lying. And believe it myself.
What you say?
That's good.
My.
I'm gonna move closer so you can hear me.
Thank you, thank you.
We really appreciate you coming to New Albany. I'm Catherine Cannon. I'm 64 years old from New Albany.
All right.
And I'm going back to your march against crime. And I want information that you know, because you are an elder and you know about law in communities, to help us decrease the crime and tell us how we can use officials to help bring in jobs to these high area crime neighborhoods. I've known them to be disproportionate in the amount of high paying and technical jobs, and how this goes along with the school to prison pipeline,
Yeah.
and how community development companies control the industries that come into different areas. And what can you tell us that we can use in our community when it comes
Thank you,
to
thank you, thank you. There couldn't possibly be a better question. Jesus Christ is the answer. Now, whether we like it or not, this is a difficult one even for me to say as brave as I think I am. 98 or more percent of all jobs in Mississippi are still controlled that blacks work by white folks.
That's right.
Ain't no black person, I'm talking about the highest paid one to the lowest paid one. Before they do anything different, they gonna check with their significant white to make sure they're not gonna get punished for doing something different. I know that's hard to admit. The truth is always hard. That's the reason why the Bible is stressed the truth. There's very few people strong enough to deal with it.
My Lord.
Now, I'm almost certain that if we focus on and commit, is first of all, why is Jesus Christ different? Jesus Christ is the first and the last, the beginning and the end. Because of all the people who have been known about in the world, Jesus Christ is the only one that has been born, lived, suffered, and died and relived. And if the lady that asked the question, and I'm going to just refer to her because what applied to her, in my view, apply to everybody. If she make the honest effort to do God's will according to the teachings of Jesus Christ, and that's what made Jesus live. Because he commissioned everybody who believed in his word to do everything that he does. So whenever a person seeks to do God's will according to the teachings of Jesus Christ, they live, and Jesus lives again because of their effort. And when anybody know you trying to do God's will, they will help you. And everybody know everybody need a job. You don't have to tell nobody. And everybody want a good employee.
That's right.
And I guarantee you, every good person is known about. Ain't nobody don't know who's good and who's bad. Most of us are so disappointed because the people we hope gonna be good turn out to be bad. You understand that? Everywhere I go, I look for certain people. Number one, elders. The most influential people in the world are people old. They influence everything they touch, unless they've been influenced not to know the use of their influence. If you don't use your knowledge, you might as well not have it. And she had it down pat. I mean, her language wasn't exactly the same as mine, but her message was identical to mine. And I've been scared to deliver the message because I was scared that off me. And off me means kill you. And it ain't the person that's going to shoot the gun that I'm concerned about. It's the person that want to get rid of me, go get somebody else to do it. And I see people in this room not only know the truth of what I'm talking about, but they have experienced the truth. And I don't think there's anybody in here don't know how to make this work. Every old person in the world that has normal ability, influence beyond what you can imagine, every person that watched them. The world ain't no fool. Education is good, but it is extremely misleading. Most of the time, we forget all about age and wisdom. I don't never know when to shut up, but I'm gonna shut up. I got the rest of my life. So if anybody else got any suggestion or any comment, and I am happier than happy to see Captain Copeland. Now, why is that important? Because she was a captain. I never knew whether it was the Army or the Air Force or Navy. And the Army? Now, but anyway, she was a nurse. And she was a captain from Northeast Mississippi, from Prentice? Lee, which county?
Both Lee and Prentice are right beside each other. One line down the middle. Our school was an
Okay.
Meredith High School.
Now, why is that so important? The most important period of time in my life was the 9 years I've been in the military. Because it taught me discipline. Only old folks can teach young blacks discipline. Even the teachers can't do it no more. So, if there ain't no more questions or comments or suggestions, I'll go over here and finish my cracker. But when I leave here, I'm going to Ripley. From Ripley, I'm going to car rent. And tomorrow, I don't know which three it is, but I'm going to 3 of them county seats. And I'm going to tell them what I just told you. And I hope the questions be the same. And I ain't never been anywhere that the best question didn't come from right there. And everybody saw and heard her. And I think everybody understood both what she asked and what I answered. And all I said was, all she got to do is just do it. That if she does it, every employer in Union County will hire anybody she wants to hire. It used to be, when I was growing up, I'm gonna specify, Reverend Brown could recommend anybody, even if he had never heard of them, because he knew people who knew whether they were good or bad.
That's right.
Or whether he could stake his reputation on them or not. That's what we got to get back to. And we all know how to do it. Ain't none of us don't know how to do it. And most of it, just like me, you've been scared to do your job. And I promise God that I wasn't gonna fear no more. And basically, we can change Mississippi if don't nobody but the people in this room recognize that they old folks. You know, I like to ask people 65 and 70, are you young or old? I'm young. Actually, there ain't nothing but an old fool. Well, thank you. I'm gonna go eat my cookie.